So, church night on Wednesdays here on the Malloy program in recognition of all those glorious Wednesday nights in the summer that I spent with my dearly beloved grandparents going to prayer meeting, having no idea that in that particular part of their brains, my grandparents were sick as hell. in other parts, they were fine. But boy, oh boy, oh boy. After a series of delays, the Senate today passed legislation to fundamentally restructure government student loans and reverse the sharp hikes in interest rates that went into effect on July 1. The Senate passed the legislation. The vote was 81 to 18, with more than a dozen Democrats voting against this White House-backed plan. Some Democrats, like Senator Elizabeth Warren, argued that the plan, which would reduce current interest rates from 6.8% to 3.86%, burdens students because those rates could still fluctuate as high as 10.5% in some cases. Senator Warren said earlier today on the Senate floor, quote, all students will end up paying far higher interest rates on their loans than they do right now, end quote. Senator Bernie Sanders said in a statement on Tuesday, quote, the White House is being disingenuous and is trying to sweep under the rug big increases in interest rates for students and parents in the near future, end quote. Sanders, who offered his own amendment to the proposal but failed to get enough votes, labeled the Senate plan, his word, dangerous. The Senate had previously considered a one-year extension of those rates, which would have pushed the broader problem off for another year. But that plan didn't have the supermajority, 60 votes to pass. See, we don't vote in the Senate the way we used to. Instead, a bipartisan group of senators, including Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, Lamar Alexander, Republican of Tennessee, among others, negotiated what they say is a permanent fix. The plan would lower interest rates would lower interest rates in the short term, and it would cap interest rates in the long term, a provision that Democrats like Warren demanded. But the caps are at levels much higher than current rates. Undergraduates would pay a maximum of 8.25%, while graduate students would pay 9.5%, and parents who take out loans for their children could see rates as high as 10.5%. You usurious bastard, you. So make it impossible for parents or working students to pay for an education. Make it impossible. Except for the privileged 1/10 of 1%. Interest, schminterest, they don't pay interest. They pay tuition. The 1/10 of 1% or the 1%, how much is it? Daddy, write you $64,000 a year. Here you go, sweetie. Now, go get your degree in communications. Bye-bye. Right, Daddy, once in a while. There is an effort in this country, and surely you agree with this. I know, don't call you Shirley. But you do agree with this, do you not? There is an effort in this country to absolutely turn us into slaves, fearful of some freak walking down the street who might shoot us, fearful of some vicious, filthy, supernatural being in the sky who's going to eat us or flood our farms or tornadoize our cities, or so that we will all be very quiet. Don't make any noise. Don't stick your head up. Just be quiet. Let the people who deserve to be at the very, very top be at the very top, and don't disturb them, for heaven's sake. This is the nature of things. The 1/2 of 1% up deserve to have everything. It's their birthright. So the rest of us, the 99.5% of us who are not in that top echelon, we must continue to plod along. Eventually, the 99.5% of us will be hammered down. You know, you think, well, Mike, that 1/2 of 1% at the top, what's the difference between that and the 1% that comes right behind them? There's a massive difference. But that 1% that comes right behind the 1/2 of 1% at the top, eventually they will be hammered down too. I mean, there's only room at the top for, for so many. Picture a pyramid, okay, with a real sharp, pointy point at the top. So every single effort that I see by Republicans, by these religious freaks, is to dumb down, destroy, undermine, fractionalize, otherwise rend this civilization, such as it is, into all these little pieces that can then be controlled, where the priests and the leaders can screw folks literally and figuratively. Prairie 2 sent me an email when I was talking a few minutes ago, and he said, how much longer do you think it'll be before they bring back, as a religious prerogative, witch burnings? He says he'd give it 20 years, max. He may be right. So now it's the student loan deal. New York Times said Senator Warren spoke up for poor and middle-class Americans last week when she excoriated the federal government for making money on the student loan program. She also criticized Republicans for killing bills earlier this month that would have prevented interest rates on subsidized student loans from doubling. The government should not be making money off the backs of struggling student borrowers. Ms. Warren and other lawmakers described this money. And by the way, an analysis by the Congressional Budget Office estimated that the new higher rate would earn the government about $184 billion over the next decade. But as Senator Warren pointed out, that the Obama administration shouldn't be making profit off the backs of struggling student borrowers. The Obama administration says, oh, no, wait a minute, but if it's not profit, what is it? What do you call $184 billion that flows into your pocket? What do you call that? For nothing you've done. Education in this country, if we were a civilized country, which we are not, if we were a rational society, which we are not, if we are a logical society, which we are not, if we were a society determined to better ourselves and the rest of the human race, which we are not, but if we lived in such a society, education would be utterly and absolutely without any kind of swapping of little pieces of green paper or moving digits around on a computer. In other words, education would be essentially free. And why shouldn't it be? Why should education cost? Education doesn't cost up to 12th grade. Why should it cost beyond? Does anyone have an answer? I don't. If we can educate people free for 12 years, why can we not educate them for another 4 equally free? Or 6? Or even another 8? Does anybody, hello, have an answer? Does it cost more to teach theoretical physics than it does to teach first-year algebra? Oh, well. All right, we have a break. When we come back, we have more fun and frivolity here where it concerns the machinations of the Congress as it relates to the destruction of this society. Stay with us.
I don't need old 45 in here with me. I'll scare off intruders in my fatigues, black jacket and army boots. My neck is red, my collar blue. I like it that way. I don't hear liberals talking to me. I don't see things their way. Yeah, I'm on the right side.